Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the man of the hour, Robert F. Haffner. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to Jefferson 553 on a great night for Bob. And I'd like to introduce, on my left, Walter F. Wheeler, past Grand Master, State of Michigan, and current Michigan Masonic Charitable Foundation Director.
Thank you, Brother Chip. Good evening, everyone. We'd like to thank you all for coming to pay tribute to our friend and brother, Robert Haffner. I know that he's extremely excited to see this great crowd, and we're looking forward to sharing a wonderful night with you, Bob.
Good evening. Brothers and ladies, if I could ask you, please rise as you are able. We would like to observe a moment of silence for three brothers that we lost a year and 2 days ago in a tragic accident. Brothers Bill Petrosi, Nick Andropoulos, and Wesley Frizard. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we approach Thee in a celebratory mood this evening, in testimony to the many contributions of Brother Robert Haffner, contributions not only to this fraternity, but contributions to his community and to his country. You have bestowed on us many blessings, and for those we are truly thankful. We ask your blessing upon this food of which we are about to partake. Bless the hands that have prepared it. We pray this all in your holy name. Amen.
So let it be. If you'd all please remain standing and join me in pledging and saluting allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We're going to go right to dinner. We have a nice buffet set up inside the pool room. I'm going to dismiss you by tables. And being the smart man that I am, I'm going to start with the Grand Master's table.
This dinner is in honor of Brother Bob Haffner, and it all started with an oral history of Brother Bob that the Michigan Masonic Charitable Foundation did. We've been doing several oral histories around the state, and every once in a while we have a super great story. And illustrious Brother Bob was one of those super great stories, and so we wanted to have this dinner in his honor. I'd like to introduce the members of the staff of the Charitable Foundation that are here tonight. I'm going to start with one of our development officers, one of our newest members, Teresa Lemke, who's way in the back there. Stand up, Teresa, so they can see you. Another one of our development officers is Brother Bruce Rice, who is also the worshipful master of Forty Brady Lodge. Bruce. Our Director of Development, who was instrumental in the planning of this with the officers of the Lodge, is Worshipful Brother Keith Banquets. Also with us today is the company that does the filming for the foundation. It's called the Film Farm. The owner of the Film Farm is standing over here by the camera, Gerb Epstein. And standing behind the cameras in the back is Brother Ryan Buckley. Since you see the cameras, you know that we're taping this, so if you say anything, you might want to be careful. As we mentioned, we did a video on Brother Bob, and the video actually lasted 2.5 hours. You'll be glad to know we're not going to show you the whole video. However, if you would like to see it, you can go to the Film Farm website and go to the Legacy series, and you can watch Brother Bob's video. But we're going to show you a short excerpt of the video right now.
in the beautiful home of Bob Haffner in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. Sadly, Bob's wife, Ruby, passed away recently, so she can't be with us, but she's here in spirit.
Oh, I'll show you pictures.
And this is a project for the Charitable Foundation. What motivated you to join the Army?
I didn't actually join the Army. I always say, was I old enough or young enough? Meaning 18 years old, you had to sign up for draft. And I was drafted within a couple months after I signed up. And here again, I'm going to say, even with the experience of going through the war, I still think that was the best part of my life in many, many ways. It was at the Fox Theater, if I can remember right. And I saw a picture about the Corps of Engineers. And I still can picture it today. Anyway, when I got drafted, all I know, you confront, or they confront you, and they say, what part of the service would you like? Well, I didn't know I'd have a choice of Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, or Air Force. Back then it was Army Air Force, it wasn't Air Force. But I had the choice. I guess they needed young ones for any part of the service. And I says, I don't know how I decided, but I was all set to say Navy, and then I says, no, I'll take Army, and if I can get in the engineers.
Tell me about D-Day, the day itself. What were you doing?
On D-Day itself, we were at the airport like the 5th of June. I'll say at midnight we were alerted. So now we're at the airport where we're going to take off. When we got to the airport at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, we thought we were going to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning or before. Well, that didn't happen. And where we were at in England, we were over 90 miles before we got, I think it was 90 to 100 miles before we got to the channel. Then when you get to the channel, I think that's 20-some miles across. Once you're on the ground, all hell could break loose. So now what did you do? You protect yourself and you protect your soldier buddy on each side of you, or whoever's on each side of you. Let's say you get an open land, if a pole got knocked down or two, maybe the glider came in pretty good. That's why I say a lot of them lost their lives or got hurt bad because you didn't have a proper landing field. And how the higher-ups figured it out, I know they had recons going over there taking pictures long before that took place. So they had a good idea where they were going, but still at the same time, now this is what I heard from several officers that had decent rank. They said they plan on an invasion, 50% loss. I picked up Ruby, I think on January the 7th or 8th, and then we drove out cross country to California. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed staying with the aunt and that. Then we got married on the 19th. Well, the way they do that, the preacher that married us, he made us go through our vows before the program, except for saying I do and signing the papers. Well, now Jack McElroy, that was in charge of the program, he's doing the announcing and asking questions like you do, and we had to answer. Everything was spontaneous. It wasn't written in stone or something like that. So whatever come out of my mind or their mind or her mind, that's how we answered. Well, anyway, the program now stops, and he announces that now the Ruby and Bob are going to the chapel and get married. here's Mr. and Mrs. Haffner. Well, then the whole crowd that's sitting in the audience is, you know, clapping and that and hooray. And in the meantime, they're telling these people what we're getting for gifts. Well, we got a Savelle refrigerator, which was a gas refrigerator. We got Gorham sterling silver, a set of 4. And then we got aluminum luggage. And then we got a dinette set, I forgot the name. Ruby in 52 gave birth to my first daughter, and her name is Cherie. And then 3 years later, we had another daughter, and her name is Marcy. So we just have the 2 girls, and today they're naturally older ladies because, I'll put it this way, one is 59 and one is 56. So I tell them the older they get, the younger I look. And I've been telling them that for years. Well,
you alluded to grandchildren. How many do you have?
5 grandchildren, and 3 are girls. Out of the 3 girls, 2 are twins. Like, I got a big inventory when I was in business, and I'm not bragging when I say this, but a large inventory compared to a lot of jewelers. All right, why? It was at my fingertips. I could get the diamonds out over here, the rubies and the sapphires, whatever I needed. And like Masonic, I had every Masonic stone and emblem for the lapels. I need a stone to fit in that ring. I had the stone. And you'd be surprised. Oh, I went to Myers, I went to Rose, they don't have it. I said, no, they don't want to bother with it. You got to come to me, you know. And I said, there might be somebody else around here, but I'm one of the bigger ones. And it paid off for me to do what I did. It just like a flower. It opened up, and it really made me let's say a better person, but at the same time a new life. I met so many people, and I'm not talking about Detroit. I don't care if it was up in Saginaw or Grand Rapids or down in Kentucky or Georgia or someplace else, wherever.
You met Red Skelton?
Oh yeah, Red Skelton. Met him. And there's another one. I had Red Skelton. Now I'm using the term I mean the clown unit. We had him for 1 week, at least 3 times in our clown room on the 6th floor when we were downtown. And we would take him back to the Renaissance, drop him off, and sometime pick him up and bring him back. And he'd ride along with us, and he has more, the information and stories and jokes and what have you. What a great guy to meet, Red Skelton. He was really, really something. 1989, I was potentate, and that's another thing. I was pushed into it. I didn't even want to run. And the one man that kept pushing me, Mike Donofrio, whether it was with the Shrine in parades or let's say the Scottish Rite with going wherever they met, and the same way I went with the Commandery for a while. So I traveled a lot, and that to me is good knowledge. But we were fortunate that both of us worked together and made the money, saved the money, and had the money where we didn't have to starve ourselves or lose our house or whatever. So we were let's say, for not knowing each other, in one sense, before we got married, we really didn't know each other until after we said I do, and then we worked together.
Right.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on
Well,
that.
thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you for sharing everything that you have. It's been a real privilege.
This time, I would like to call illustrious Brother Bob to the podium. I've known Brother Bob for quite some time. He and I actually got our 33rd degree together in 1997. And he also played a role in one other event. When I joined the Jesters, he had a very significant role, and I'll never forget that one either. Yeah, Brother Bob? Yes, we are. It's good to have you here, and we're going to actually call on some people that have some presentations for you. So I'm going to start with illustrious David R. Bedwell, 33rd degree, active member of the Supreme Council for the Scottish Rite and deputy in the state of Michigan, for a presentation.
Thank you all. And I was also there for that event. And I'll never forget it either. I got two voters. Bob, first of all, it's my great honor and privilege to be at this dinner for you tonight. I know a lot of men in Masonry and throughout Michigan and throughout the world, and you're right up there as one of the finer men in Masons that I have ever came across. And I thank you for your service in World War II as a veteran, and I thank you for your service to Masonry and the Scottish Rite. And as Walt indicated, well, you've been a Scottish Rite Mason now for, what, 36 years? Something like that. You were Sovereign Prince of the Council of Princes of Jerusalem in the Valley of Detroit in 1995. And you were coronated a 33rd degree Mason in 1997. And to put that into perspective, only 2% of all Scottish Rite Masons are coronated 33rd degree Scottish Rite Masons. So that in itself is a tribute to you as a man and a Mason. And I have a little presentation here for you. On behalf of the Sovereign Grand Commander, a certificate of appreciation presented to you in recognition of his individual efforts, dedication, and contributions to the Valley of Detroit and the Scottish Rite of the Northern Masonic Jurisdiction, presented this 9th day of November, 2013, and it's signed not only by the Grand Secretary General Jim Tungate, but also by John William McNulty, our Sovereign Grand Commander. Did you? Yeah. All right. So congratulations.
This time I would like to call on illustrious Brother Charles Bear, the potentate of Moslem Shrine, for some remarks.
I want to let you know, I've known Bob about 15, 16 years. We didn't know each other all that well when, at a circus many years ago, he talked me into repairing a piece of jewelry of mine. And a couple weeks later, I remembered that he had the jewelry. I found the plate in my pocket. And I asked my secretary, I said, when you come back from lunch, you might stop in by the jewelry store and pick this up for me. So she didn't head and hawed. She probably, I said, I'll cover lunch. On her way back, she was just smiling and glowing, and hey, Mr. Haffner, what a nice guy he is. I said, oh really? I said, I don't know that well. What's so nice about it? She said, first of all, he took my hand and said, are you the wife or the girlfriend? And I said, what'd you say? She goes, I didn't know what to say. I said, well, that's not what you want to say when my wife is around. So I said, what did he really say? She said, well, if you're the girlfriend, you have unlimited credit. I said, you're not allowed back in that story. The video was a fine representation of what I try to put in words here today. And I'm going to present this to you in just a minute. It's kind of large, but I'm just going to read what it says, larger print. It's a proclamation. It says, whereas Robert P. Haffner proudly defended our country's freedom during World War II and served the U.S. Army with honorable distinction as a member of the elite 82nd Airborne Division. And after training in England and North Africa, he bravely fought in Italy during the Allied invasion of Sicily before moving on to France, where he was an integral part of Operation Overlord, Operation Boston, Operation Neptune, all major components of a successful Allied invasion of Normandy. His unit was then ordered to execute Operation Market Gardens and went to the Netherlands to seize and hold key bridges and roads deep behind enemy lines. Afterwards, he was rushed to
defend enemy attacks at the Ardennes forest border area of France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. This conflict later became known as the Battle of the Bulge, the largest and costliest conflict of World War II, resulting in 89,000 American casualties, with over 19,000 killed. But it marked the turning point of World War II, when the 6-year war finally ended when 155,000 enemy soldiers surrendered to his unit. And whereas Bob was raised a master mason in Jefferson Lodge 553 at St. Clair Shores 50 years ago, September 22nd, 1963, and whereas Bob was exalted a Royal Archmason of the York Rite at Detroit, Michigan, April 22, 1964, whereas Bob crossed the hot sands of the desert and became a noble of the Mystic Shrine at Detroit, June 4, 1965, and went on to become a charter member of the Muslim Temple Clown Unit, and has performed in every shrine circus since, as Professor Bo Hobo, his alter ego, a down on his luck tramp clown.
Yep.
You got a nickel?
No, I don't even have a penny. Oh, I thought we were going through.
He later went on to hold our highest office when he was potentate in 1989. And whereas Brother Bob was initiated into the Scottish Rite at the Valley of Detroit on October 1st, 1976, and coronated the 33rd degree Mason on September 23rd, 1997. And whereas Bob has demonstrated the highest tenets of Masonry by his active involvement, his leadership, and his consistent display of fraternal values and gentlemanly conduct. He has demonstrated the importance of family and was married to his beloved wife Ruby for 63 years. And they have raised two lovely children. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Charles Baird, illustrious potentate of Muslim Shrine, and on behalf of all its distinguished members, for all the foregoing reasons and others, do hereby honor and recognize Robert Haffner as he celebrates 50 years of Masonry, do deem and distinguish him a patriot, an exceptional Mason and Shriner, a beloved friend, and have proudly recommended that he receive the Shriners International highest award, the Imperial Potentate's Medallion, which will be bestowed upon him at Muslim Temple the 7th day of December 2013. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
At this time, I would like to call on Candace Rusi, who is a city council member here in St. Clair Shores, for a presentation.
First off, I want to say thank you on behalf of the city, the mayor, the city council for letting us be a part of the celebration and the recognition. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So I have a proclamation to present. Proclamation to Robert P. Haffner, 2013 Michigan Mason of the Year. Whereas the mayor and the council of the city of St. Clair Shores deem it fitting and proper to publicly recognize resident Robert P. Haffner for his significant achievements as a Mason. And whereas Bob was born on November 27, 1924 in Detroit, Michigan, and after graduating from Detroit Public Schools, registered for the draft at the age of 18. And whereas he was assigned to what became the 82nd Airborne Division, serving in the Engineering Corps as part of the Glider Unit, which was towed by C-47s and dropped off at Normandy a few days after D-Day, and Bob also saw action at the Battle of the Bulge. And whereas he met his wife, Ruby, at a YMCA dance in Georgia, they were married in January 1949 and moved to St. Clair Shores in the early 1950s, where they raised two daughters, Sherry and Marcy. Bob is a proud grandfather of 5 grandchildren and had a wonderful career as a jeweler. And whereas Bob joined Jefferson Lodge 553, was raised as a Master Mason on September 26, 1963, and is now a life member, this year celebrating 50 years in Masonry. He went through the Muslim Shrine officer stations and became a potentate of the Muslim Shrine in 1989 and was coronated a 33rd degree Mason on September 23, 1997. He is a charter member of the Muslim Shrine Clown Unit, which he joined in 1964 and still performs today as Professor Bo Hobo. I know you're in our parade every year, so thank you. Now therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council of the city of St. Clair Shores, on behalf of all of our residents, congratulate Robert P. Haffner as a Michigan Mason of the Year by the Grand Lodge of Michigan for his lifelong dedication as a Mason. Presented this 9th day of November 2013, signed by Mayor Kip Walby, all of council, and it fits with the city seal.
Are there any other presentations?
Because he's one of my favorite clowns. That's for you. I think everybody will recognize it except you.
Oh,
Open it up and show everybody and they'll know what you are.
all righty. I think I know.
Let me see, Bob.
Show it this way.
I love to ride a bike up and down Jefferson from my house and back, and I love to ride the stationary bike at the senior center. I put that about 3 miles on that, and when weather is good, I put anywhere from 5 to 10 miles on my regular bike. This bike was given to me about 15 years ago for a Christmas present, and today I got over 10,000 miles on this particular bike. Thank you. Oh, she's sitting down, okay.
So do you wear this costume every time you ride it?
I could. Oh,
Almost every
talking
time.
about bikes. You maybe seen me in the parade riding a bike that goes like this. Well, I gave it up because I got too young. And an old man in here, somewhere around here, is painted it a little different. And his name is Robert Chrysler or Corny. And he's got the bike now.
Are there any other presentations? Then at this time, I'd like to call on our most worshipful Grand Master for a very special presentation to Brother Bob.
Hi, Bobby. Hey, I'm still looking up to you.
Yes, you are.
Yes, sir.
You never thought the Maitre d' would show up and give you something, did you?
No, but he gave me a full meal. Oh, no, wasn't that. But anyway,
It's just like Masons to honor a guy and make him stand up here while all the talking heads in the neighborhood come by and talk. And you need a chair or something, Bob?
yeah, to get up higher. Yeah, or a ladder. I'm afraid to stand on that.
I'm afraid to have him stand on it. I have two quick Bob Haffner stories. When Bob had the store, and 100 years ago when I was pastor, my master of my lodge, in the old Wyandotte Lodge, I went out and seen Bob and his brother to buy my own past master ring. And when he found out I was buying my own, it got more expensive. No, you don't want that one. You don't want that one. But Bobby took care of me that day. And the other story
Did
is...
you find a better one?
No, well, Don took care of me. The other one is, in years gone by, in the Valley of Detroit, you had to be investigated before you became a member, much like Symbolic Lodge does today. When I came into the Valley of Detroit, Bob was the guy who investigated me. So now you know who to blame. But one thing that, during that whole investigative process, one thing Bob said has stuck with me all these years later. He said, give us a chance. Come back and give us a chance. And that's what Bob Haffner is. He's a calming soul. And, he just says the right things. He does the right things. I am very proud to call him brother. There are two things Masons like to do. They like to be recognized, and we're taking care of that. Mm-hmm. And they like lapel pins. I got the second half of that right here.
I didn't wear them all.
Thank God. I have your 50-year pin, Bob,
Thank you.
and I'm going to try not to draw blood when I give you this.
Would you believe 50 years went by? Wow. Not only in commandery and masonry.
You were even a slobbering prince, weren't you?
Yeah, I was a Slavic prince, but not 50 years ago.
And see, you were a slobbering prince. I didn't even hold that against you, Bob. I still love you. One of us is moving too much here, bud.
And you know, talk about Slavic prince, you know who talked me into that? It
You-
sounded like your name. but it was Ray
Layman's.
Lehman.
Layman's, yeah, my buddy Ray.
Yeah.
Congratulations, pal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And nice to be. Whoop.
Oh, easy. Hey, where's this hand at? That's what I want to know.
We're going to call on illustrious Brother Bob to introduce his family and guest and to bring a few remarks. I do have a stopwatch, by the way.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Did you stop it already?
You can sit down, Walt.
Now, right at this time, I have two tables here, and they talked about my two daughters and grandchildren, and so I'm going to introduce the two tables right now. My daughter, Cherie Williamson, and she has her son here, Jay Williamson. And then I'd like to introduce her daughter, Dr. Katie Gretsch, and her son-in-law, Bryant. And then I'm looking around and I see another daughter here, Marcy, and she's my daughter, and she's got some children here. She has a set of twins, and they're both sitting at the other table there. The blonde is 2 minutes older than the other one. But anyway, that's Julie Haas and Jennifer Haas. She had to leave her husband home up in Sanford, Michigan, or Midland, Michigan. Then I have a nephew, Donald Haffner. And a lot of you might remember my brother, Don Haffner. This is his son. And his daughter-in-law, Carol Haffner. Now I'm looking over here, and I have Jim and a good friend of my daughter, Marcy. And I'm looking around. I got another one. He's been a friend of mine for years, and he even accepted a title, General Chairman. And would you believe he's still my General Chairman? All I have to do is do this, and he gets it for me. Where's the Manhattan? That is Marv Mangrum and his lady, Sophie. Now, Marv Mangrum you might know because he's the starter of the Hungry Five that feeds us well at many different occasions. Keep up the good work, Marv.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. Did I miss anybody in my family here? Oh, yes. I have a lady over here that occasionally we do things like this, go to parties and that. Ann Stricker. All right. And looking around, I got many others. I hate to start with one, but I mentioned Corny, so that's Bob Chrysler, Dave Hoke, and oh God, Bill Paulin. I could go on and on with so many that, let's say, oh, even Roger Moore. You get more out of Roger. But anyway, at this time, I'm going to say I really enjoy and appreciate 553 Jefferson Lodge for hosting this party for me. And Keith, where are you? Thank you for doing all the good work, whatever you've done there, and your buddy over here. You really put, let's say that 2.5 hour one, I can't shorten it, but once in a while I try to stay awake through the whole thing. And my daughters have a disc, and a couple of my my nephew too. But anyway, getting back to masonry, it was something when I was in the service And these guys that are over 21, there were a few that wore rings with the square and compass on it. And I mentioned back then, I says, well, if I ever get out of this service alive, I'd like to become a Mason someday. Well, it took years for me to become a Mason because of things that I did, like actually learn a trade, get married, and then had children, and one thing after another. It just took years, but in 64, I think it was 63 or 64, no, 63, I finally got to be a Master Mason, and it was a brother that had a fur shop in the Metropolitan Building. He used to come up and chit-chat with me at lunchtime, and finally, I said to him one day, I really want to become a Mason. The next day, not that it makes any difference, but he happened to be a real, true Jewish boy. He lived his faith or religion. Anyway, he comes in with a brown bag and a white envelope sticking out. I said, so what did you do here? He says, I'm buying your lunch today. And I'm going, he never did this before, but what is the white envelope? He says, you asked for it. It took over a year because you had to live in the county that you for the lodge. Anyway, by the time Perfection got it back to me so I could bring it over to Jefferson, and at that time, I think it was Roy Stockton was the master of this lodge at that time. But anyway, then I got to be a Mason in his year, which I'm happy I did it. I enjoyed it. I would have never met all you people or many, many, many more people in all walks of life. And you know what I like about tonight too? Everybody's here. York Rite, Scottish Rite, Shrine, naturally Master Masons. We're all mixed together right here. I wish we could get together like this, even a bigger crowd. So I think I'll rent Coble Hall the next day and have a bigger crowd. Now, there's one other thing I'd like to mention about clowning, and it'll bring up two names, and they both have the same last name. Way back in the 50s, there was two clowns called Nick and Vic, and Nick and Vic, I knew Nick quite well, so I went up to him and I said, where do you clown at? Well, at St. Clair Shores and St. Clair Shores Day, and then once in a while we have a little clowning to do at different places. And I says, well, I don't mind doing it if you want another clown to mix in with you. It was Nick Petrosi. And the three of us would go out and clown at different times. Then, as time goes on, here I meet a little guy, and his name is William Petrosi. And I got a kick out of his dad. He says, you know, I just can't keep up with him. Anyway, Bill, I guess, always would do something that the dad didn't want him to do. But anyway, whatever it was. Back then, we got into masonry and that, naturally Bill Petrosi said, why don't you join the Scottish Rite? I says, I just joined the York Rite. And he says, well, the Scottish Rite is better. I don't think you knew any more than me about Scottish Rite or York Rite or whatever. But anyway, I said, well, I'm in the York Rite and I'm enjoying it. And I did. I walked down Woodward Avenue a couple times where they were popular in making, in the parade, making the sign of a cross. And we'd go down Woodward Avenue, down Jefferson, and we got the Jefferson Memorial where the church, not miners, yeah, that's it. And we moved the monument from there, from middle of Detroit over there. And back then, they thought they were putting us out in the country where you wouldn't see too much about masonry. Today, it's the best place in the world because Jefferson Avenue is a good street to go up and down, and you see that statue time and time again. So they played a trick on us, but we got the best out of the trick. Thank you. I appreciate all of you being here, and all I can say is God bless, like Red Skelton would say. God bless you, and he'd only say, God bless. And that's why I have that tramp outfit somewhat like Red Skelton. When he had red hair, I had a red, what do you call it? That, whatever you said, I think it's right. But anyway, I'd have that red wig on, and now that he's gone, God bless him, but I'll tell you right now, I start wearing a gray one for many years because his hair turned gray. And once again, if it wasn't for my wife, Ruby, I think she was would say, yeah, if you want to do that, why don't you? She more or less got me into masonry, and then one step at a time, I went into other things. She enjoyed it as much as I did, whatever part of masonry I got into. Thank you. Have a safe trip home, and I hope to see you around the realm someplace, somewhere. And Walt, I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Good. I'm glad I met you years ago, and I'm happy to have you here tonight. All righty?
Yep, we can go sit down now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, illustrious Brother Bob.
All righty.
Actually, when you look at that clown picture of him, doesn't he look like a little bit like Red Skelton's clown character? He does. And Red Skelton, like Bob, was also a 33rd degree Mason. So, at this time, I would ask all the Masons to please be upstanding and greet the Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of the State of Michigan, Most Worshipful Brother Raymond C. Lemons.
Thank you. Please be seated. You don't miss a word. Jesus. All right. One of the things the Grand Master does is introduce everybody else in the room. I don't do that. So I want to tell you it's a good time to be a Michigan Mason. We're making some great changes on the level I work on. We're making some great changes in the office. We're streamlining things. We're making processes seamless. We work very hard to help our craft. I have a great line of leadership team. We don't even call them the Grand Lodge line anymore. It's my leadership team, and they're all willing to do anything they need to do for the betterment of the craft. We make decisions based on the betterment of the craft. So if you call me and you have something you want me to do, we're going to consider what's best for the craft. And it's pretty simple stuff to us. Bob, Scottish Rite is better. There's one person I do have to introduce because if I don't, it costs me. So my lovely wife Betty is here. Go ahead, Bob.
You know, if you make a mistake, you maybe had that dress for a week or two.
It's diamonds.
It's diamonds on this level, Bob. That's why I'm always careful to introduce her. A couple times usually. All right. I do not, as Grand Master, take up a bunch of time or space. So I'm done. Thanks for coming.
I'm not so sure about the space part, but we'd like to thank everyone for being here this evening and to pay tribute to Brother Bob. It's a great tribute to you to see all these people are here for you, Bob.
Yes, I know that, and I appreciate it.
And it's a great night. I hope you all have a safe trip home. Thank you so much for coming.